Hi friends, it is Aubrey. In today's video, we're gonna be going over some freezer clean out pantry cooking meals that I did before we moved into our new place. So forgot to film the intro at the old place, so that's why it looks a little bit different, but that's what we're gonna be going over today. It was just some meals that I really needed to do to use up some of the items that we had so we didn't have to move over as much stuff. So if you're interested to see what we made, keep watching. If you're wanting to know where I've been, I'll do a little update at the end of the video after all of the recipes, so definitely stay tuned for that. This is one of my favorite meals. It's a breakfast hash, and I used leftover baked potatoes, but you can use frozen potatoes as well, or you can blanch some and then use them in the hash. It's really up to you on how you want to do it, but wanted to use up those leftovers. And then you'll need a spaghetti squash, which I just cooked in my Instant Pot, and I'll put instructions on how to do that down below. And then I had about 3 or 4 slices of bacon that I went and got fried up in little bits in my pan, and then I added my potatoes to it. I made sure that I seasoned everything with salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, all my usual seasonings, and I made sure to season them very well since the baked potatoes weren't pre-seasoned, and potatoes can take a lot of seasoning. I made sure to stir this pretty often just to make sure that every potato got crispy and that the bacon didn't burn. And you can honestly add vegetables to this if you wanted to. We didn't have any peppers or onions to add, but you can add whatever you like inside your breakfast hash. You could even add eggs if you wanted to. And then once everything was all crispy, we like to serve it on top of spaghetti squash, which I know sounds weird, but promise, it's really good. So I definitely recommend just trying it out, especially if you like spaghetti squash. So we just serve it up like this, and it was delicious. This was definitely one of my biggest pregnancy cravings with my last baby. So I really need to debone this chicken that we got a few days ago and freeze it or do something with it. So I decided I'm going to take all the meat off of it and bag some of them up for freezer meals or whatever later, and then the rest of them I'm going to make my favorite chicken salad, and that way we can have it for lunch today but also lunch tomorrow, and it just makes it really quick and easy. So first I chopped up my apples after I washed them, and I do them in really small bite-sized pieces. That way there's the crunch in the chicken salad mix, but you're not just eating huge chunks of apples. So I got those all cut into small pieces and added them to my bowl. And then next I needed to go through and cut up the chicken. I'd pulled most of it off the bone already, and then after this portion of the video I pulled the rest off and put it into the freezer, so that way we could either make this recipe or a different recipe that we like with chicken at a future date. And so we just put that in the freezer. And this is definitely one of the best hacks, is to buy the Costco or Sam's Club rotisserie chicken, pull all the meat off the bone, and then make multiple dinners from it. And then you can also make broth with the bones. So it's definitely a hack, and it saves you a ton of time and money by doing it that way instead of buying the whole chicken yourself. So then we'll go ahead and add all of the chicken into the bowl with the apples. I like to add sliced almonds in mine. Some people like doing cashews, or if you're nut free, then just leave the nuts out, but I like adding it for some extra flavor and texture. And then you'll go ahead and add the sauce ingredients, which if you're just making a single batch, you're gonna add 4 tablespoons of mayonnaise and then about a tablespoon of honey. I'm just eyeballing it here. And then you'll need 1 teaspoon, again just eyeballing it, of Dijon mustard, and then some onion powder and a little bit of garlic powder, probably about 1/4 of a teaspoon. And then you'll also want to add some salt, again probably about 1/4 of a teaspoon, and then you'll give this all a really good stir. And as I was stirring this, I realized it was still a little bit dry, so I added a little bit more because I was making more of the chicken salad than I normally do, and so I just ended up adding a little bit more mayo and a little bit more honey just to make sure it wasn't going to be too dry. And then you can serve it on your favorite kind of bread or a croissant with some veggies or other fruit on the side. This is a really nice one to prep ahead of time to pull out for a quick and easy lunch. For tonight's dinner, we're going to have a pork and potato casserole. This is one of our favorite meals to make, and we just happened to have a whole bunch of ground pork in the freezer, so I pulled a pound out and got it cooking on the stove. And then I had a big block of Tillamook cheddar cheese, so I went ahead and shredded that in my food processor, which makes it so much easier than doing it by hand. And then I decided to use my little chopper tool that has like a julienne setting on it to get these potatoes sliced really thin. And sometimes it doesn't work great, but once you get it started, then it works pretty good, and it gets all of the potatoes sliced really nice and thin. And it has a whole bunch of other functions too and different chopping tools, so if you don't already have one of those, it definitely makes cooking a lot easier, and I have one linked down below. So for this recipe, you'll go ahead and boil the potatoes for about 5 minutes just so that they're a little bit soft. And while that's going, you'll start your roux. So you'll add in your butter and flour, and I'll be sure to have the recipe down below for the full details of how much of each of the items you need to add. And you'll let this roux cook for about a minute, and then you'll go ahead and add in your milk. And you want to make sure to get rid of all of those clumps so you don't have a clumpy sauce to put on your potatoes, and it should fall apart and like all meld together within about a minute or so. And once it starts to get thick, you'll go ahead and add in your cheddar cheese. I did about a cup, but you can do more or less than that just depending on how cheesy you want the potatoes to be. And then I like to add my strained potatoes directly into the sauce and kind of mix it around. A whisk was not the best tool for this, so I switched to a regular old spoon and stirred all of this around. And I made sure to add some additional seasoning to the roux, but also to the potatoes. That way there was enough salt and pepper and gave it enough flavor. And then I added about half of my ground pork, so about a half pound of that, into the mixture as well. And then I saved the rest of the ground pork for a later date and just putting it into a bag and putting it in the freezer. And then you'll cover this with some more cheese and then cover it with aluminum foil and put it in the oven at 375 for about 40 minutes. Kind of just depends on your oven. I like to do 20 minutes and check it, and then do another 10, and then I'll also do it uncovered for about 10 minutes as well, just to make sure everything gets nice and bubbly and cheese is all melted on the top. Then you can serve it up and have it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's a very versatile meal, and this is what the whole dish looks like together. Tonight we are having some chicken and potatoes. We had some potatoes that needed to get used up, and so we're gonna make those in my Instant Pot into mashed potatoes. And I like to put garlic in my water just to give the potatoes some extra flavor, and I also salt the water too. And so I chop them up into smaller pieces, and then I cook them in the Instant Pot on manual for about 8 minutes. Kind of depends on the size. So this is the chicken that we're gonna have on top of our mashed potatoes, which I will make in just a minute. But we love this brand. We really like their Chipotle lime one, but these garlic herb ones were on clearance maybe a month or so back. So we picked them up, put them in the freezer. I pulled this one out to make dinner for tonight. So I have some oil heating up in my pan, and we're just gonna dump this straight in there. I'm just gonna cook this on the stove until all of the pieces are at 165. I normally like to just temp 1 or 2 of the big pieces, and then I figure if the giant pieces are all cooked, then the little pieces are too. I'm going to drain my garlicky, salty water with the potatoes in it, and then we're going to do a little bit of milk, whipping cream, and butter, and then lots of salt and pepper. I added maybe 2 tablespoons of butter. All of this is just eyeballing and then tasting and seeing what else it needs. I'm gonna add a couple of splashes, maybe a couple tablespoons of whipping cream, a ton of salt, and probably even more after I mix this. And same with the pepper. Just gonna use my hand mixer and blend this all up. just finished cooking this. I temped it. It is definitely done. And then I ended up not using any milk. I just did salt, pepper, butter, and whipping cream. My husband and I both tasted it. We added a little bit more salt and a little bit more whipping cream, but these are good to go. And then I also put some corn in the microwave, so we're just gonna make little bowls with this. Here is the dinner. We're just gonna serve it up in some bowls and we'll be good to go. Here is my bowl, and the doggy desperately wants some, huh, Madsen? You're such a good boy. Yeah, you're not gonna get any though, sorry. Looks delish. And in case you were wondering where the heck I have been, because it's been a long time, it's just been a really crazy time for our family. So first off, we moved, and that took a lot of energy. We also found out that we're pregnant with our third baby, a baby boy, coming in December, which is super exciting. And then we also had a couple of deaths in the family, and my work has gotten really busy, and so I just needed to step away from YouTube for a little while just to make sure everything was okay with my family and myself before jumping back in. So I really appreciate you guys if you were wondering where I was and your sweet messages, but everything is okay. We've just been really crazy busy. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'm hoping that we can get back to a more regularly scheduled videos for you guys every couple of Sundays, and then also some shorts here and there just throughout the week. So if that interests you, definitely hit the subscribe button. I will be here and around more often up until we have baby in December. Hopefully we'll have some time to kind of pre-record some things, so it won't be a big deal. But I do appreciate all of the love and support that you guys have given my family, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye!